We finally made it, the end of 2025. It's list season, and I love list season because inevitably I'm gonna find something somewhere that I didn't know about that usually ends up being some of my favorite stuff of the year, and I hope that is the case for you watching this video. So here we go, my top 50 albums of 2025. Gonna do my best to kind of blaze through most of these, and then I'll give a little bit more of an explanation once we get towards the top of the list. So here we go, number 50, Water From Your Eyes with It's a Beautiful Place, a catchy, sort of mathy, alternative indie rock album with some like 90s attitude. Next up, sort of an electronic folk album with some noise leanings, Quickly with I Heard That Noise. Number 48, Rosalia's Lux. Number 47, Agriculture pulls together influences from just about every corner of metal and the spiritual sound. 46, Danny Brown's diving into some hyperpop on Stardust. Number 45, Goodbye World from Miffle, a beautiful ambient electronica album that's great for some morning listens. If you got a free hour in the morning and you're sitting on the porch, this is a great album to have on. 44, Pinball 2 from Mike and Tony Seltzer. Number 43, Gorilla Toss is keeping rock music weird and making everybody else weird for it with You're Weird Now. Number 42, Bolivian producer Chikwamamani Kondori and their brother Joshua Chukwimi Crampton with Los Thuthanaka. 41, Rock Doida from Gabi Amarantos, a very fun, catchy Brazilian dance album. Number 40, Gollywog from Billy Woods. Number 39, a love letter to dance music of the last 30 years from Sudan Archives with the BPM. Number 38, an Italian chamber folk art pop album from La Nina called Furesta. 37, a jazzy folk album from Hannah Francis, Nested in Tangles. Number 36, Primitive Man with one of the most disgusting and vile metal albums I've heard all year with Observance. Number 35, Argentine artist Juana Rosas gives a really fun kind of industrial dance pop album with Tanya. Number 34, a great house album from Rochelle Jordan with Through the Wall. Number 33, a genre I'm not usually into, but a prog rock, prog metal album from Snooze called I Know How You Will Die. Number 32, Italian producer Cosimo Querci brings together krautrock and dub and bossa nova into a surprisingly cohesive listen with Rimane. Number 31, Who Let the Dogs Out from Lambrini Girls, possibly the sassiest punk album all year. Number 30, All You Are Is We from the Screamo band Emma Goldman. Number 29, probably the biggest black metal record of the year, Deaf Heaven's Lonely People with Power. Number 28, Nina Geraci with I Love My Computer. Number 27, Soft Spot from Norwegian synth punk band Honning Barna. Number 26, one of the best bands in the windmill scene right now, Maruja with Pain to Power. Number 25, underground abstract hardcore hip hop artist Silk Money with this album title that I cannot memorize, I just have to read it, I'm very sorry. Who waters the wilting, giving tree once the leaves are dry and fruit no longer bears? Number 24, probably my favorite project, period, from One of Tricks Point Never with Tranquilizer. Number 23, Spanish composer Maud the Moth with Distaff. I'm not sure if genres descriptions will really do this album justice, but just kind of give you an idea of the vibe. It's kind of like something in the vein of Chelsea Wolfe, but not so much with the electronics and the industrial metal, and more so with a classical influence. Number 22, surprise album from Tyler the Creator with Don't Tap the Glass. Number 21, Little Sims keeping up her incredible run of great albums over the last like 5 or 6 years with Lotus. Number 20, in my opinion, the best alternative R&B album of the year, The Passionate Ones from Nourished by Time. Number 19, Natalia Lafourcade also continuing her incredible run of great albums with Canzoniera. Number 18, ex-members of Sprain continue on as Sheerling with Motherfucker, I Am Both Amen and Hallelujah, also one of the best album titles of the year in my opinion. Number 17, Dark Skin N-Words with Light Skin Problems from the Side Pieces. This album blends together various genres of electronic music and hip-hop to just make this crazy experience of an album. It's really something you gotta just sit down and listen to really get an idea of what this album even is. Number 16, Jid, back with another great album with God Does Like Ugly. Number 15, also back with a great album, Backwash with Only Dust Remains. Number 14, everybody's favorite rock album of the year, Geese Getting Killed. Number 13, somehow Deerhoof continues to put out some of the craziest music I've ever heard after 30 years with Noble and Godlike in Ruin. Number 12, Gold Star from Imperial Triumphant, my favorite metal album of the year. Number 11, Hyperpop Deconstructed Club album, Revenge Seekers from Jane Remover. Here we are, my top 10 albums of 2025. I'll go a little bit more in depth on each of these, starting with number 10, Psychedelic Porn Crumpets with Carpe Diem Moonman. I was not even really a fan of this band going into this year, so liking this album even half as much as I do was even a shock to me, but man, they just nailed everything on here. The songs are catchy, the riffs are great, the production just really does a great job of bringing kind of that classic 60s psychedelic sound with a lot of modern production and modern songwriting. It's just an incredible rock album. Number 9, A City Drowned in God's Black Tears from Infinity Knives and Brian Ennals, who is just coming after everybody on this album. Rightly so. He is just yelling at people on this album. But the production side of it takes some turns, to say the least. There are parts on here that go into genres I would never have expected on any rap album, especially one that starts off the way that this one does. But there's some like indie rock, indie folk sections on here that sound like they could just be on a Big Thief album. It's really all over the place and does a surprisingly good job of bringing these genres together. Number 8, French artist Pulcinella and Colombian artist La Perla collaborate together as Pulsiperla on this album Tate Quieto, which is best I can describe it, some kind of Latin jazz. Unfortunately, I'm not familiar with enough Latin genres to really go into detail on what more specific genres are in here, but the songwriting overall is great. The songs are very fun, very danceable, very catchy, and they do a really great job of bringing together a lot of traditional instrumentation with acoustic guitars and hand percussion and some group vocals to a lot of more modern songwriting and production and synthesizers. Number 7 came out probably more recently than anything else on this list, and that's Rap Ferreira's The Green Knight side of it. This very quickly became one of my favorite rap albums of the year, partly because November was exactly the right time to release this. This is one of the most autumnal albums I've just heard, period. Other than that, though, what really drew me in, besides the great production from Kenny Siegel, is just the very stream of consciousness way that he raps in and out of certain flows, kind of disregarding where the beat is and really bringing it back to the roots of like beat poetry and spoken word, but also a lot of very honest and raw and heartfelt lyrics about being part of a family or a community and what it means to have a role in that, and what it means to lose somebody and how you recover from that. Overall, just a very heartwarming and well-produced album. Number 6, Vanisher, Horizon Scraper from Quedeca. Didn't really know what to expect going into this album. It was the first thing I've ever heard from Quedeca, and it just blew me away, partly because I don't really know what I was expecting going into it, but it was not what I got. So much depth and maturity in the songwriting, not just the lyrics, but just the way the songs evolve and the instrumentation that's used. And the production is just stellar all the way through. And there's a lot of parts that are just like very simple, but hit really hard, like emotionally. Number 5, a similar experience with Cam Girl from Crippling Alcoholism, a very hazy, reverb-drenched goth shoegaze album that kind of dips its toes into metal every once in a while. There's a little bit of an electronic component as well, but there is an atmosphere that's palpable all the way through, with some really dark and disturbing lyrics here and there that kind of detail these short vignettes that are from a first-person point of view that really make for a pretty intense listen. And the delivery of the vocals as well falls somewhere between like Leonard Cohen and Nick Cave and Tom Waits. It really comes together, I think, pretty well. And also it has a lot of really catchy parts to it. Number 4, also a little bit of a dark album, but in a different way, is Pirouette from Model Actress. I couldn't put this album down when it came out. So well produced and so catchy. It's a great album that kind of just hits a lot of different emotions. Number 3, one of the best comeback albums, period, is Let God Sort 'Em Out from Clips. The production on here, obviously, stellar. And bar for bar, some of the best lyrics on any album this year, possibly even of the decade so far. While a lot of the songs are very well produced and very catchy, they also hit very hard emotionally. Number 2, the debut album from Yahweh Nailgun, 45 Pounds. Firstly, I'm not entirely sure how to describe the genre on here, and I'm not sure that's really going to do it justice, but it's somewhere maybe within like the art punk realm. But this band just had a singular vision, and they absolutely nailed it. And if we are going to consider it as some kind of punk album, it's pretty unique in that, given that they kind of replace a lot of what would probably be guitar parts with an organ or some similar sounding synth effects, and they get an absolute cavernous sound out of the organ and the bass together. It sounds incredible. The drums are also probably the highlight on the album, which are not only incredible just in terms of the grooves and the performances, but they really make a lot of use out of rototoms of all things. I really can't even think of many other bands that regularly use rototoms and aren't just like a one-time gimmick in a song, but damn, do they make it work. In my opinion, this is just a criminally underrated album. And that brings us to my number 1 album of the year, which is Magic Alive from McKinley Dixon. I think this is a near perfect, if not perfect, album, partly because it uses a lot of live instrumentation, which the success of this album, I hope, encourages other producers to start using more live instrumentation. Not that there's anything wrong with not using it, but it just works so well here. And this album as well kind of gets back to a lot of the jazzy roots of rap. And as far as jazz rap albums go, I think this could go toe-to-toe with T-Pab or anything from The Roots or Tribe. It's really, I think, one of the best jazz rap albums, period. There we go, my top 50 albums of 2025. Take a listen to some of these if you haven't, but more importantly, leave a comment with some of your favorite albums of this year, especially if they did not show up on this list, because I guarantee there are albums that I haven't heard yet from this year that I will probably love. So please help me in finding those albums, and I hope to hear from you soon.